Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. And today, guys, I got some bad news. We're at the end of the Fatal Flaw Series. I know. I feel the same way. But it's all good because this episode we're gonna finish out with a bang. You know, we hit you with the AFC South. Of course, you know we had to bring it home. Okay, you know we had to bring it home, and we got the AFC East. Okay, so we're gonna finish out strong. But today I got another special guest for you. But this one's real special. Today I got my big brother. He's coming on the show. He's actually in the weight room right now. I'm not even gonna hold this up. We're just gonna get straight to it. We're just gonna get straight to it, and we're gonna get him on. Gentlemen, I want to introduce you guys to somebody special to me. Guys, let me say this. They say anytime you get your big brother to buy into what you're doing something right. Guys, I want to introduce you guys to my big brother, Jamal. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm honored to be here on your show, ready to talk mo trash about the Indianapolis Colts. Let's go.
Everybody always is. You know, that I wouldn't expect anything less. So, of course, you're here for the Fatal Flaw Series, a series created by Cuz You Don't Know Football, to bring out every team's fatal flaw. So every team, all 32 teams, have a reason or multiple reasons why they're not going to win the Super Bowl, and we're gonna tell each one of those reasons, even though one of them is going to win a Super Bowl. So this is actually the conclusion of that series, and we're going to move actually a little bit quicker because we had to take up a little bit of time with the getting everything right. So actually, I'm gonna throw something different at you because I didn't even prepare you for this. So this being the finale of the Fatal Flaw series, we're gonna do this random. We're not gonna do division and division. We're just gonna do random, and we're just gonna throw off some teams. How's that sound? You think you're ready for that?
All right, cool. Let's go. Let's do it.
So let's talk about the bad teams first. I hate talking about the bad teams later. So let's talk about the bad teams first. And this is actually going to be very good one for me. It's about these New England Patriots. Now, you know, if there's anybody who's happy that this team is trash, you know it's me. You know I've been tired of this team for it's been about 20 years, so they had a good run. So talk to me. What's the fatal flaw of the New England Patriots?
The Patriots, I mean, there's so much wrong with the Patriots. I'll start with, I don't think they have enough talent at the wide receiver position to really compete at a high level in the NFL this season. Like from a distance, they kind of look like they have the right pieces. Like Devontae Parker looks the part of a true alpha wide receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster looks the part of like a possession number 2 receiver, but not really. He's not really that guy. He's not quite there. And then I think their slot guy is what's the guy's name? It's like a Taquan.
Myers, Jacoby. No, isn't Jacoby Myers? No.
Nah, I think he's somewhere else. Taquan Thornton. Taquan Thornton is like, you know, in theory, a good slot receiver, but really, like, I don't think he can beat slot defenders with any consistency at all. So, like, you know, they're kind of like bootleg Jordans. Like from a distance, they look like they're good. They look like the real thing, but when you get up close, you see that the jump man sign just ain't quite right.
Bootleg Jordans. That's what I'm gonna call the New England Patriots from here on out. Bootleg Jordans. So I'm gonna tell you my fatal flaw, but I want to go off on a little tangent here. So I've been saying for a couple times on a couple episodes, I don't think Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. And actually, I do think Andy Reid is a better coach all time. I think in an era where things moved in a Bill Belichick way, Andy Reid was still able to get to like 5 NFC Championship games. He didn't have the greatest quarterback of all time. And the comparison between when Bill Belichick didn't have the greatest quarterback of all time and when Andy Reid, I think you can see there's a huge difference. Where now, where the rules have changed and it's more in favor of what Andy Reid can do and everything, Bill Belichick looks like he has no idea how to maneuver this whole shit. So basically, my fatal flaw for the New England Patriots is pretty much everything outside of their defense. which is to include Bill Belichick. Like, I mean, we are just like a year removed away from him having a defensive coordinator be his offensive coordinator. I don't know what that move.
That was wild. That was wild.
I don't think they have the quarterback. I think Mac Jones. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's the guy. They've never been able to get wide receiver right. Outside of slots in their era, but yeah, I just think there's so much chaos. I think they're moving towards being a chaotic franchise now. Because I think they're living off of what they did and not realizing what's going on now and who they are now. And I think they're really in a bad situation because of that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's almost like they think they still have prime Tom Brady as their quarterback, because this is the kind of team that they would build around him, with the exception of those Randy Moss years. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of team they build around Tom Brady, where there's like no talent, and he just makes the best out of it, and just every year is just in the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl, just because of Tom Brady. I don't think this team is like the worst team ever, but they're just not talented enough to really compete at a high level and to really compete for a playoff position. Like I don't see them being able to get a wild card slot. I think they're going to have like a top 10 to 12 pick in the draft. They're just not talented enough on offense, and this is an offense league now. It has been for about a decade and a half. So they just don't have the offense. Like their running backs are who? It's old Ezekiel Elliott and Stevenson. It's like, okay, cool. That's fine. That's cool. That they're, I guess, NFL players, but that's about it. That's the best you can say about those two players.
Don't they still have like Hunter Henry as their tight end and stuff?
Hunter Henry is not only is he their tight end, he's their highest paid player on offense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everything about them is like, all right, Ezekiel will be able to bring him in, and it's just like a thought that's like, bro, you just don't understand like where you are now. Like you,
yeah.
This ain't 20 years ago. This ain't 15 years.
Yeah, the time might have just caught up with Belichick on this one, and he wasn't ready, and he can't really adjust because he's just he's old. Old people don't really adjust like that.
That was mean.
It's true. It's true though.
Sorry to all my fans. I don't have a certain age.
Hey man, old people stay stuck in their ways. That's what it is.
All right, cool. We're gonna move on. Let's go with the Houston Texans. Now we're gonna go AFC South on this one. Let's go Houston Texans. Talk to me. What's the fatal flaw of the Houston Texans?
I mean, 3 of the 4 teams in the AFC South are like 3 of the like 6 or 7 worst teams in the NFL. I mean, the Houston Texans might be the worst of the bunch, and it's not really their fault at this point. It's ownership and management's fault for leading the team and directing the team to just be such a bottom dweller for the last 3 or 4 years. But it's not the coach's fault. He's new. And I like DeMeco Ryans. I think he's not only a capable defensive mind, but a capable leader of men, and will be a very good head coach. There's not a lot of talent on this team, especially on offense. So the fatal flaw is just overall youth and inexperience on offense. With the exception of Laramie Tunsil at offensive tackle, they really don't have a lot of experience at any position on that team. Mm-hmm. On offense. Their defense is actually going to be pretty good, I think. They're young. They have some young talent in the defensive secondary that I think will really excel this year. But the offense hasn't caught up yet.
Right, and actually, I do think they made like some pretty good moves. They got Devin Singletary to back up Damian Pierce. They got Dalton Schultz from Dallas. I think they definitely moved in a way that basically said if they're going to try to make CJ Stroud's life as easy as possible, And I do like their draft picks on defense. I definitely think they have some like potential stars on that defense. Fatal flaw for me though, is pretty simple. I think CJ Stroud's going to be a bust. I think out of like every year, I think he's every year the quarterbacks, when you look at the top quarterbacks, somebody's going to be a bust. Like, somebody's going to, when you look back and say, all right, that's the guy, it's hard to see it then, but now you can see it. I think it's CJ Stroud. So I may be this, and I'll say this to you. I may be a little slow to adjust to top quarterbacks going to top schools because, as you remember, most of the quarterbacks that were great went to schools that weren't the top schools. So a quarterback from Ohio State traditionally was not a good NFL quarterback. A quarterback from USC traditionally was not a good NFL quarterback. A quarterback from University of Miami, the U, traditionally is not a good NFL quarterback. I have my theory of it, because they always had more talent than everybody else, than who they were playing in college. So their offensive line usually was better than the opposing team's defensive line. And their defensive line was better than usually the other team's offensive line. And their wide receivers were usually as a group better than the other team's cornerbacks. And their cornerbacks were usually better than the opposing team's wide receivers. So I think that's a lot to give somebody. So now he's adjusting, and now he's going to the Texans, where his number one wide receiver is Robert Woods. Okay? So now he's got Robert Woods, Nico Collins, and John Mechie III. And that is not what he had at Ohio State. And I think that's a big learning curve. And I really do think he's going to struggle as an NFL pro. I think he's going to be a bust.
Okay. You make a good point about big time school quarterbacks coming into the NFL and sort of not having the relative talent around them that they had when they were in college. That doesn't explain everything, but it explains a lot. That's a good point. I don't know if I was go as far as to say he's going to be a bust. I'm not sure he's going to be a top whatever quarterback. I mean, but he might be. He might if he becomes Kirk Cousins, that's fine. I think that'll be a good ending point for him, a good ceiling for him. But you're right. They don't have offensive weapons right now.
I mean, he might have gone to 3 Hall of Famers in college.
I mean, that's saying a bit much, but okay, cool. It could happen. It could happen.
I don't think so.
How are you going to look at a player in college and be like, he's going to be in the NFL Hall of Fame?
Okay, so Jackson Smith-Njigba might be the worst out of all of them. When you look at what's my man's name from the Jets? He was the best rookie. He won rookie. No, he didn't win rookie year. But the wide receiver from the Jets, I can't think of his name right now.
Wilson.
Yes, Wilson. I mean, you look at his career. Chris Olave is there. Yeah, and then got Marvin Harrison Jr., who's coming out next year. I mean, I just named 4, and 3 of them might probably go be in the Hall of Fame.
That's wild. All right. I mean, look, I can't say they won't, but it's just have some settle down juice for a little bit. Have a little sip. And let these guys get to their second year in the NFL and see where they are. They're very good. They're very good receivers, though. That is true.
We're going to that. Yeah. As their career goes on, trust me, there's gonna be a lot of Christmases where we bring that up. Remember that.
My guy said Hall of Fame for 3 receivers in college.
That's what it's like.
Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's gonna be with a yellow jacket.
The worst one. I said he might be the worst one.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay.
So, all right. Cool. So, let's go. Let's keep it in the AFC South. Let's go to Tennessee Titans.
Okay. Am I going? Am I going first? Their fatal flaw is they're in a rebuild and don't know that they're in a rebuild. So they should have actually just got rid of, given where their quarterback situation is and the fact that their best players is their running back Henry, who's getting up in age. They didn't really have any wide receiver talent on the team. Traylon Burks was there. He had an up and down rookie year. I'm not sure. I don't think he has a high ceiling as far as being a consistent alpha wide receiver. But he can make some big plays. Their offensive line is one of the worst in the league. They signed Andre Dillard to some significant money to be their starting left tackle, and he was the backup in Philly. And the undrafted free agent from Australia who played rugby was there. He couldn't even move him out of the way. So I don't think that their offense has. They should have. Their team should be rebuilding right now. It's a natural place for them to start over. Yet they signed DeAndre Hopkins, who's just like looking for the highest bidder for a team to play for. I don't think his timeline and the rest of the team's timeline. They drafted Will Levis in the second round. You know, that's the quarterback of the future. It looks like. I just don't think. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins will be there when by the time that team is good. So why sign him to any kind of money? Why not just bottom out and get your draft pick and continue your rebuild? They're just caught in they're in a rebuild. They're delaying their rebuild unnecessarily, and I think that's a mistake.
Okay, I think their fatal flaw is that they constructed a team that's good at the wrong places. So traditionally, their center guard is amazing because Derrick Henry was running the ball. They're deep, but their tackles usually was Ryan Tannehill was kind of Their wide receivers were kind of Also on the defensive side, defensively, they have a very good run defense. They usually have pretty decent corners, safeties, but they have no pass. So nothing. They don't. I think that their draft strategy was incorrect. However, I do. It wouldn't be the biggest surprise to me that they actually won the division this year. I don't think that
what?
Will. Yeah. No, that's crazy. I know that's crazy.
Based on what? Like what? Where are they better? Where are they good? Tell me that. Where are they good?
I do think Traylon Burks in his second year, along with DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think they're a great tandem, but I think they're very good actually. I think Ryan Tannehill has been good in Tennessee. I think when you look at Ryan Tannehill, if you're also putting in when he was with the Dolphins, then you're not going to be able to see what I'm saying. I'm saying if you just take him in Tennessee, I don't think he's been bad actually. So I think they're the type of team that can keep games close and figure something out. Do I think that they will win the division? And as we get towards the end of this, no, I'm not going to pick them to do it. But I think that has more to do with when we talk about Jacksonville, and I'll talk more about that. With that said, I think that with that, what I just said, I think they're after this year, they're going to have very hard times. I think actually I picked two busts in this draft for quarterback. I think Will Levis is the other one.
How you can call a second round pick a bust though? Because he didn't go high. They didn't spend a lot of draft capital on him. They spent a second round pick on him.
Yeah, but they drafted him to be the guy. And if you're drafted to do something and you can't do it, then you're
right. But I don't think that's it's necessarily true that if you draft a quarterback in the second round, you're drafting him to be the guy. If he turns out to be the guy, that's great. But I don't think a second round pick on a quarterback is saying this is our guy. Now I think he's going to be given the leeway to be the quarterback of the future. They're going to give him the opportunity to do so. But I don't think they gave what's the guy from last year who they drafted in the third round?
Malik Willis.
Yeah, they gave him some starts too. Like that. I don't think they drafted him to be the guy.
And I don't think they're going to make any more starts for him. But I think he was drafted to be the guy.
So, right, but they stopped it though. A second round pick, you can draft somebody in the second round and be like, he ain't it. Then we'll replace him next year. But a first round quarterback, you got to give that guy 2 years.
But you would admit the first 2 round picks are picked to be starters.
In most situations, for most positions, yes, but not quarterback. Second round quarterbacks are not picked to be starters. The Eagles didn't pick Jalen Hurts in the second round to be the starter. They picked him to be the backup to Wentz, and Wentz self-combusted. And Eagles, frankly, got lucky that Jalen Hurts actually turned into something beyond what he was when he got drafted. Jalen Hurts. No one had the plan in Philadelphia for Jalen Hurts to be what he is.
Okay, so I'll say this: the difference between Jalen Hurts and Will Levis is Will Levis had a suit on in a room waiting to be picked in the first round. So
he sat there until day 2.
I'll give you that. I'm not going to go completely back and forth with you on if a second round quarterback is supposed to be drafted to be the guy. But I will tell you, every analytic, every metric shown was Will Levis's draft status was he's being drafted to be the guy. Now he definitely plummeted into the second round, but I think that he was supposed to be the guy. But
I'll just say that the only metric that matters is the one where he got drafted.
Okay. So let y'all listen. I just want you to know, y'all. Y'all see him now, right? Now I see you messed up now because the world, there's people who see this. I guess you're right.
Thank you very much.
But come on, we know what we know what this is, okay? And that's all I'm gonna say. You know something that we know too, and you agree with it. All right, cool. We're gonna move forward. So, are you telling me you want to stick in the AFC South and get through these teams because we know that there's more worse teams there, or do you want to go back to the AFC East?
Give me some let's go AFC East so I can talk positively a little bit because these AFC South teams are kind of trash.
All right, let's get to the Dolphins, Miami.
All right. So I know everybody thinks that, well, not everybody. A lot of people are going to say that their fatal flaw is Tua's health, and that may be the case. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Their offensive approach is based on big plays, based on the speed of the receivers, and now they have their running backs basically, and their ability to get down the field. And you don't need consistency. You don't need a consistent offense when you have big play ability like that. You can go first and 10, second and 9, third and 12, touchdown. But that also means that the lack of consistency can start to weigh on a team and a quarterback psyche. So I'm saying their fatal flaw is the fact that their offense lacks consistency, even though it has the explosiveness and the big playability.
Okay. So so I think the Dolphins. I think if everything comes together, you could be looking at your Super Bowl champion here. Absolutely,
I agree.
With that said, I don't. It's not that Tua is my fatal flaw, but it's Tua in conjunction with the fact that their offensive line is not a strength. It's actually part of their weakness. A lot of times, we've seen a lot of teams who have all of these wide receivers and forget to get the offensive line. And more times than not, that usually goes to a team plummeting and not being as good as or not being what you think they are, more than a team that has a great offensive line and the receivers are, well, let's figure that out. So they don't have a philosophy of offensive philosophy that bodes well on the road. Like, they don't want to run the ball and get points. They want to get fast points, and sometimes that comes down. Sometimes where you expect, they could put up 38 points every week. Some weeks that's going to be more like 24, and in those weeks, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? So it's a lot of up in the air there, but I don't like their offensive line. And I think that when you scared, every time Tua gets hit, you're going to go like this. Every single time he gets hit, you're going to be like, is he getting up? So we'll see about that.
Yeah, you ain't lie about that. I agree their offensive line is a problem. I mean, the thing is, they've drafted high and in free agency paid players to fix that problem for over the years, and it just hasn't worked out. I mean, they drafted Austin Jackson, and he seems to be trash. Liam Eichenberg is like meh, he was a high draft pick. They paid Terron Armstead a lot of money, and he's just always injured. He just got injured a couple of days ago. It looks like he's going to be okay, but he was carted off the field a couple of days ago.
And Jalen Ramsey just got there. He's hurt to December.
And Jalen Ramsey on defense, he's hurt to December at the earliest. He might actually just not come back this season. So, and that's on defense. But on offense, I agree. Their offensive line is not conducive to protecting a quarterback who, as you just described, is sort of wince-inducing. On defense, I think I do think they're still going to be really good. I think that's going to be like a top 7 or 8 defense in the league, even without Ramsey, because they were ascending last year towards the end of the year, and now their defensive coordinator, I forgot his name now, but their new defensive coordinator is really good and is known to be to have a defensive approach and scheme that matches what a lot of the new age offenses are doing and is able to stop them. And so I think that the defense is going to be really good even without Fangio. There you go. Fangio's defenses are, and he not only like when he coaches the defenses, but now we have some years where and some defensive coaches who coached under him who are now spreading the gospel of his defense as well. In Carolina, in Philadelphia, in Chicago now. I think that defense is going to be good. They still have the talent. The trade that they made last year for the Denver Broncos defensive end, I think he's really good. I think the defense will be good, but fatal flaw definitely on offense, definitely along that offensive line, and just lacking consistency. Not a lot of first downs on that team. There'll be a lot of points and big plays, but not a lot of first downs.
Yeah. FYI, just a little side note. I left this up there for you to see. I just want you to know that was for you.
What is that?
That would be me on the TV. You see?
Oh,
that would be me on the TV. I just wanted you to know. I just wanted you to know. That's okay. We can put that away. See, it's going. It's going now. You see? I just wanted you.
I don't even know what I was reading. Whatever.
I just wanted you to see it. I didn't want to leave it there the whole time. I don't like to brag. So
you're like I understand you to be that way. You're not a bragger. You're a very thoughtful person. So.
Thank you, man. You know what? You all right. You all right. All right. We're gonna get through one more before we take this. We take a little break. Let's go. Let's go Jets. Let's go Jets. Okay. I'm moving up to something. Let's go Jets. Talk to me. What's the Jets' fatal flaw?
Similar to Miami, the Jets' fatal flaw is their offensive line, in particular that left tackle area. So Dwayne Brown is their in theory starting left tackle, and Mekhi Becton is the person that they drafted a few years ago to be that guy. Dwayne Brown is really old and really shouldn't be playing anymore. Mekhi Becton has he played 10 games in his 4-year career? I don't even think he's played 10 games. Very athletic player. Is a kind of like mutant type athlete that doesn't make sense. Like, is 320 pounds, ran a 4.840 kind of situation, but always hurt. And so I don't know how that translates to a quality protection for Aaron Rodgers, who, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he's also getting up in age himself. It's going to be rough on him protecting that blind side.
Yeah, so I think similarly to what I said about the Dolphins, if everything goes right with them, we could be looking at the Super Bowl champion right there, the New York Jets. The problem with the Jets for me is, well, let me say this. In terms of the Dolphins, if both teams didn't have any more injuries, if there's no injuries to ever happen, what the Dolphins would be. And when you look at the Jets, I don't think anybody knows for certain, oh, they're a 13-win team. Or would you be shocked that they were a 9-win team?
With no injuries?
With no injuries.
Yeah, I'd be kind of surprised if they only won nine wins, because that would mean that Mekhi Becton actually plays and plays up to expectations or something like that. And if that's the case, then if I didn't have the concern at left tackle, my concern would be who kind of secondary, who's the number 2 wide receiver outside of Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is clearly the number 1. Is it
for the Jets?
Randall? Yeah, is it Randall Cobb? Is it who's the number 2 receiver?
The number 2 wide receiver.
Lazard, Alan Lazard, Mecole Hardman.
Wilson, Alan Lazard, and Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, so they're not great. But like that's
Well, so it's
if
not bad. I mean, they brought him over from Green Bay because he had rapport with Aaron Rodgers.
they brought him over because Aaron Rodgers, that's Aaron Rodgers' boy, not because he's good, not because Aaron Rodgers wants to throw him the ball.
Wouldn't that be? I think that bodes more towards like, all right, they know like this isn't a transition for that wide receiver. Okay, that's a smoother transition into the situation that he's in. The point that I'm making is, I wouldn't be surprised if they won 9 games, just as much as I wouldn't be surprised if they won 15 games. You know, I just don't know. Sometimes Aaron Rodgers has had some teams where the roster was superior and they played down. You know, that's happened in his career as well. So I look at them, and my fatal flaw is I just don't know what it is. I think their floor is very high, and I think their ceiling is very high. But I don't know. They couldn't meet that floor though. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. The thing is, their defense is going to be legit.
yes,
Like at all 3 levels, they have ballers, real all pro level players. Maybe not a linebacker all pro, but the linebackers are good too.
mm-hmm.
I expect their defense actually to be like the top defense in the league this year.
You think that's the best defense in
They're
the
just
league?
they're that good. Either them or Dallas. Either them or Dallas, I think are going to be the top defenses this year. They're that good. But yeah, you know, it's not a defensive league, so you can have a great defense and still not perform well overall because of things like that left tackle is shaky, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with my boy Sauce. That's my listen. First of all, the coolest nickname in the NFL, Sauce. Like, so I actually look at Sauce and I try to compare him. You know, I like to be ahead of the curve. I try to compare him to like the greats. Like, from what you see, how great do you think he's been? Like, all right, the Jets haven't forgotten about Darrelle Revis yet, but like, do you think that like he moves into like that kind of territory this year? That Deion Sanders? Do you think he looks like, you know what I mean? Like, where do you think he is this year?
So take a step back. Cornerback play is highly volatile. A cornerback who's great one year can have a disappointing year the next year, and it really not be all that player's fault. It could be a change in defensive scheme. It could be like, you know, the bounce of the ball sometimes just goes against you from year to year and can go in your favor from year to year. That said, I think that dude is legit the best or second best cornerback in the league right now. And I think overall he will just continue to ascend as he understands and learns more about the NFL game and plays more NFL wide receivers and is in the league for a little bit longer. As far as like what his ceiling is, I think, you know, you don't see cornerbacks built like him. He's almost like a skinny wide receiver playing cornerback, and he's not stiff in his hips. You know, it's not that he's just speed, you know,
But
or
he's
just like
strong too.
he's
Like,
strong for his size, and his hips are, again, his hips, like he can move, like he's quick as well. And he knows how to locate the ball and to get in the way. So you know, I'm not like you. I'm not calling Hall of Famers when they're in college or their first or second year.
let's get to it, okay? Let's get to it.
But if he continues to play at this level, if he plays at the level he played at last year, every year or most of the years of his career, and he has a decently long career, he will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think I kind of think Sauce might show that there's a gap in who's the number 2 corner in him this year. That's how good I really do think he is.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
like you said, you kind of if you said an archetype of a cornerback and said this is the best cornerback of all time, and said archetype, you just explained, like, it's just about, you know what I mean, consistency and see, you know what I mean, where his head is and stuff like that. But he's fast, he's quick, he's long, he has a decent amount of strength. You know what I mean? His hips is fluid. So
cornerbacks are not built like him usually.
right.
Like that's not like you can't replicate a Sauce Gardner. You can't just be like, all right, let me grab this other player and just kind of make a similar facsimile of Sauce. Like that can't happen. Whereas like a player like Patrick Surtain Jr., like that build is more typical of NFL cornerbacks. Now I think those two are the best cornerbacks in the league. And it's kind of goes back and forth as to like who's actually better. But Sauce is definitely legit, ready to ball, shut you down, take away the whole half of the field. I mean, I don't think Deion Sanders is in his realm, only because I don't think anybody is ever going to be in Deion Sanders level. That like, no one can do what he did.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. Okay, cool. So, I'm thinking about this, and I think I'm going to keep some controversy for the end here. So I'm doing this in a way that basically leaves some controversy because I see it coming. So next, let's do Jacksonville next.
All right, Jacksonville. So I think Jacksonville's gonna be really good this year. I think their fatal flaw, though, is the fact that I don't know how good of a pass rush they're gonna have. And in other words, I don't think they have a good pass rush, and that's a problem. Trayvon Walker had, like, if I'm being kind about it, he had an okay rookie year. He really has to step up because they're relying on him. Devin Lloyd, who's their other first round pick from last year, he's a linebacker. He got straight up benched last year. So like, I don't even know, is he even the starter coming into this year? Like, I don't even know. But I don't think they have a pass rush that stands up to good offensive lines or even okay offensive lines, and that's going to be a problem for them.
Okay, so actually on top of that, because I thought about a couple of things. Actually, I looked at PFF, which I still use to gauge certain things, and they actually have their biggest weakness being their offensive line as well. So I say all that to say, I don't know if I want to say it's their fatal flaw, but I will say their limiting factor is Trevor Lawrence's growth. Do you think, how good do you think he is now at this point in his career? Let me ask you that.
I mean, I think he's really good. He's a step below the Mahomes and Burrows. I think he's still a bit below Hurts. He's probably around that like Herbert, Lamar Jackson area, to like 7th, 8th, 9th best quarterback, somewhere in there.
Okay, so if he's better, if he's all right, so if he's a little bit better than that range, I agree with what you're saying. Then I feel comfortable about where they could be, and I really do think that they're a real threat. Because I do think when I look at this whole roster, I think they have some very good pieces, but I think there's some pieces that people assume that they're better at than I don't think they're that good at, being offensive line and potentially pass rush and things of that nature. So I think he's got some carrying he has to do with this roster. So I have to see where his growth is. So going back to what I said about Tennessee, you said, like, where do you see them fitting in all of this? If Trevor Lawrence does not take that step up, I do think Tennessee has the ability to win enough games. Like, all right, so if he doesn't take a step up, this whole division, the winner of this division might win like 8 games.
Oh no, I don't see that at all. This division, I think this division and the division who they play this year in the NFC South, are the two worst divisions in the NFL. I'm waiting to hear your argument for why Tennessee can win games. You'll tell me, you'll say it. But I think Jacksonville sweeps the AFC South, maybe loses a game against the NFC South.
I don't think they're that good.
And I think I'm picking them to be the number 1 seed going into the playoffs because of their schedule, and the continued improvement of Trevor Lawrence under the tutelage of Doug Peterson.
I think it's more far-fetched that they're the number 1 seed than they could win 9 games. That's really my opinion. I don't think they're that good of a team right now.
I think you're forgetting how good Calvin Ridley was.
No, I think Calvin Ridley is good, but once again, that offensive line, that wasn't like that. I didn't like bring that point out of anywhere. Like PFF, which is
I respect them.
They said like I thought their pass rush. Their defense may not be as good as people think per se, but I definitely feel they have a good defense. But they said their offensive line is not that good. So
and a lot of that
is not.
A lot of that is driven by the fact that their starting left tackle is suspended for the first 3 games, I believe, of the season. He'll be back, and they will probably struggle a bit for those 3 games. I'm not saying they're going to lose those games, but it'll be I think this guy like Walker Little is their replacement. I don't really know what he's all about, but the starter will be back. When he's back, I think he solidifies the offensive line. I don't see even with their poor pass rush. I think they're head and shoulders above the rest of the AFC South. I don't think it's much of a competition with Tennessee or any team.
Even if he's special, I think even if Trevor Lawrence is special, they don't sweep the AFC South.
Because you think Tennessee is going to beat them?
No, what I'm saying is if Trevor Lawrence does not take that leap to being closer to great, like when you say they're going to be number 1 seed, that means you're pointing towards Trevor Lawrence being like having like this great, amazing season, maybe even like MVP candidate season. So what I'm saying is if he does, I agree if he has that kind of season, yeah, this is easy. I still don't think they sweep the AFC South, but yeah, they'll be up there. I still don't think they get the number 1 seed, but I still think that they're up there. But if he doesn't, then I think that this team, I don't think this roster is so crazy or unbeatable that a team can't sneak up on them. And I think when I look at like a Tennessee, yeah, they could sneak up on them. I don't think Tennessee.
I'm still waiting to hear the argument for Tennessee because last year, Jacksonville, like if Jacksonville just came back, it was the same team. Trevor Lawrence was the same quarterback. They won the division last year. Tennessee is worse than they were last year. So I'm waiting to hear the argument for Tennessee actually.
All right, so why is Tennessee worse than they were last year?
Their offensive line, they've lost offensive line talent. They've lost the starting cornerback who I forgot his name. I think Farley. He's probably never playing again. They replaced him with a draft pick, McCreary, who has like alligator arms. He has the shortest arms for a cornerback in like the last 30 years or whatever. Like he's their starting outside cornerback now. They don't Tannehill, while he was a credible quarterback for a few seasons in Tennessee, he was credible because they had a good offensive line and they had AJ Brown as wide receiver. The year that AJ Brown leaves, he takes like multiple steps back, and he's not getting that guy back. He's replacing him with an older DeAndre Hopkins, who at this stage in his career is not as good as AJ Brown was, even when AJ Brown was in Tennessee. They're just less talented. Derrick Henry is a year older and 350 carries more on him.
I'll say
they're wide receivers, tight ends. Do they have a pass rush? Like I know Harold is still there, but he's coming off of a.
They've never had a pass
rush.
So they've never had a pass rush. Tennessee has never had a good pass rush. They've had good.
Right. So I'm waiting to hear. So I'm waiting to hear where they are better than they were last year.
I didn't say they were better. What I said was, I think that they could be a team that could sneak up and win about 8 games this year.
Did they win 8 games last year? How many games did they win last year?
They won. Let's see. Give me 1 second. We're here doing homework now. We all. This
is great podcasting. They were 7-10 last year.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, all right.
So where are they getting these 2 extra wins?
So you also got to keep in mind. Usually, there's always 6 teams that make the playoffs that didn't make it the year before. Usually teams that win one score games one year, usually they lose them games. I'm saying there's a combination of I'm just saying there's a scenario in which I don't think it's crazy that if Trevor Lawrence doesn't take that step, that they so like a team in AFC South, and I look at Tennessee, this being the last year where I look at them as being credible at all. Yeah, I could see that. But then they go
But they won 7 games last year, and they're not as good as they were last year. It's not like they're an ascending team. Like the teams that usually make that leap are the ones who are ascending. They're the young teams that have young talent that finally break through. That's not Tennessee. This is an old team with limited talent, and that talent is less than it was the year before. So like even if Jacksonville takes a minor step back, like even if they're 9-8 this upcoming season, where's Tennessee making up the 2 games to get to 9-8 themselves?
Like I said,
they're just a less talented team.
What I'm saying is crazier things have happened than that. And
I'm saying that would be the craziest.
I think Jacksonville is a very good team. I'm not looking at them as a roster top to bottom that's a Super Bowl contender. They could be had.
No, I don't think they're honestly. I don't equate being the number 1 seed going to the playoffs and being a Super Bowl contender. I think they're going to win a lot of games against really bad teams. I think Kansas City just has like a team like Kansas City or a team like Cincinnati or any of those teams in the AFC North. They're just going to play better teams over the course of the season, and their record is going to be less. I think those teams are better than Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is going to be like a one and done kind of team in the playoffs. I don't think they're a big
seed. A number 1 seed is not a Super Bowl contender.
I just want me to say it again. I'll say it again. I don't think Jacksonville is as good as the teams that are going to come behind them in the standings. I think that number 1 seed, Jacksonville, they're going to have that because I think they're a little bit better than they were last year. But their schedule is so poor, and they're just going to rack up wins. They're going to be like Minnesota last year.
All right, we're gonna finish that up because we're gonna pick the division winners, and we'll finish that up. But we're going to move on. So you want to leave controversy for the end, or do you want to just put the best team from last year and everything and talk about them right now?
This is your podcast, sir. Do it how you want to do it.
Here, and I want to hear what you got.
Then leave the controversy for the end.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about Buffalo. Talk about it.
Buffalo. So I just don't know that they are as talented as people claim they are. I know that they have a lot of like pedigreed talent on the team, like pedigreed names. I mean, like they have Von Miller, but Miller's gonna probably start the season on the pup. They drafted AJ Epinesa in the first round. They drafted what's homeboy's name? Greg Rousseau in the first round. They have Tre'Davious White. They have on offense. They have Stephon Diggs. Obviously, they have Josh Allen at quarterback, and I think Josh Allen is really good. I kind of feel like Stephon Diggs is starting a decline in his career. He's had a weird offseason too. I don't know what that was that happened earlier in the spring at the spring practices. Say it again.
Something was wrong. They had beef, like something with Stephon.
Yeah, something weird was going on there. But also, like I still think he's like a top 10. I still think he's one of the best 7 or 8 wide receivers, but he's no longer like one of the top 4 receivers. So like that little bit of a slip I think matters a little bit. I don't their running back doesn't really matter, but like James Cook is their running back. He hasn't done much. Their offensive line is kind of meh. Like they have some names on the offensive line. I do like the rookie Osiris Torrance. He's a big guard. I think he'll play well, but also like I'm not really impressed with Dalton Kincaid, who's their tight end who they drafted this year as well. So I kind of their safeties are kind of old. Kyer Elam at cornerback hasn't really stepped up the way they hoped he would. He's another first round pick. So like their fatal flaw is I don't think they're as talented as they look when you look at their pedigree on paper.
Yeah. So like So, like you said, like for instance, you said you thought the Jets would have the best defense this year. Statistically, like the last 2 years, it kind of was pretty much Buffalo. They could still statistically have that, but when you look at their pass rush, which I think is more of a metric that goes towards the Super Bowl, I don't know what you'll get with Von Miller this year. And outside of him, even outside of him, I think they really needed a second one anyway. Add that to like outside of Stephon Diggs, their receiver core is like, I mean, I'm sure in Buffalo they believe in it like so much. They're like, oh yeah, this person's going to step up and they're going to step up. But like outside Stephon Diggs, like who are you really worried about? But for me, actually, with Buffalo, I think Cincinnati took their heart, and I say that because before I think they were looked at to be when Kansas City was like they've been in the AFC Championship game and going to the Super Bowl and everything. They looked at Kansas City as like, all right, we're just a step below them, right? So then all of a sudden Cincinnati comes up and Cincinnati is like, oh yeah, we'll just beat you too, you know? And then Kansas City wins on a year when, in my opinion, was supposed to be a rebuild year. And they win the Super Bowl. So now that it's looked at, well, there's actually a gap because Kansas City's probably going to be better, I mean, this year than they were last year. And Cincinnati is just beating us. And I think they're looking at it. I think in their head they know they're no better than the third best team in the AFC. And that's kind of well, like no matter what, like I think that's how they come into the season. They like listen, no matter what we do, even if they're not going to admit it, no matter what they do, they're like, oh, we're the third best team. Cincinnati has our number, and Kansas City has our number, and I don't know how to get out of that, you know. So Buffalo could do a little bit of regression this year. You know, when you think about the Jets and you think about Miami, is Buffalo the best team in the AFC East?
So I mean, I don't want to spoil the section where we talk about who's the division winners, but I think I'll right now I'll just say like it. I think it'll be close in the AFC, at the top of the AFC East.
Like I think they're easy a safe pick because they've won it the last couple of years. But like, are you sure? The only point I'm glad you didn't answer it actually. But like the point was, are you sure? Whereas the last 2 years you were certain. You know?
Yeah, I am not sure. And also like it's just like weird thing like they have these two receiving tight ends and they think they're tricking people this year. I was reading that they think they're gonna run 12 personnel a lot, which is like one running back, two tight ends, and that's gonna confuse defenses. I don't think that's confusing at all. Those two tight ends are not actual tight ends. They're not inline tight ends. Those are big wide receivers basically. Teams are going to see that and play dime or nickel against it, and they're going to be fine because those tight ends aren't blocking anybody.
Right. I agree, and I don't think their philosophy is we're going to run the ball anyway. So I think
look, if Buffalo is in the AFC Championship this year or in the Super Bowl, I think that will be because Josh Allen has become the best quarterback in the NFL, at least for the season. It's all on Josh Allen, which it was last year, but like I think it's even more so now, given like a lot of those draft picks that they made that were supposed to fill holes and be team leaders are just not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Josh Allen is like their array of, you know what I mean, and he's got to be great. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, and to be clear, he's been great. He's just not been great enough in certain circumstances.
Right.
Like there's no reason why they shouldn't have beat Kansas City in that playoff game when they were up with 13 seconds. Like that's just wild that they lost that game.
And we here. So yeah, right. So all right, cool. So let's get to the controversy here. You know I want to talk about the Colts. You want to talk about the Colts. You know that's why you're here. So hold on. Before you even say anything, I'm actually going to go first because I want to say something to you, and I want you to know before we even do anything.
Okay.
I'm not. The Colts actually just announced that Anthony Richardson is going to be the starting quarterback this year.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the smart thing. Even going back to the draft, I looked at Anthony Richardson and I said, he's a project. And the problem with that is, and I'll say this like this, the problem here that I have with Anthony Richardson is that Patrick Mahomes actually worked. So what I mean by that is Patrick Mahomes came out. He was in the system, the air raid system. It puts up a lot of yards. He threw a lot of picks. You know what I mean? A lot of those things translate when you come over to the NFL. It's like a lot of quarterbacks have done exactly what Patrick Mahomes did, except he ended up being like maybe arguably the greatest quarterback of all time or on his way to it. The problem is the fact that that project worked. People forget that you just can't pick a project, and people forget about like Jamarcus Russell. You know what I mean? People forget about Ryan Mallett. People forget about, there's a lot more projects at quarterback. But I look at Anthony Richardson, and you look at his completion percentage in college, it was low. When you look at the picks that he had a lot of picks. The amount of starts that he had very little starts. And I'm like, I get the upside, but I don't care that he could jump the highest out of every quarterback in the draft. That I don't care about. You know what I mean? So I actually do have trepidation with Anthony Richardson, and I gotta wait and see what he's going to start. Now in terms of fatal flaw, in terms of the Colts, as of right now, I just think we have too many ifs that have to. We got like 5 ifs that have to be right in order for us to be even like a good team. You know, like we still don't. I don't know if our pass rush. I know we have Kwity Paye, but like he hasn't shown to be like a legitimate pass rusher. It's a good run stopper. I don't know if our pass rush is good, or if those people are going to pan out. I know our linebacking core is good, which actually I don't like that our highest paid players are like a linebacker and an offensive guard. I actually don't like that. But we here. You know what I mean? We got young corners because we got to remember we had to get rid of the one corner because he got caught gambling with sports betting and stuff like that. So now we got rookie corners. They might be. I think they'll be good, but you know what I mean. We got to wait and see with them. Offensive line has got to bounce back. Everybody is saying it's going to bounce back, but it was Jonathan Taylor. He's got to come back and actually want to be there. He hasn't even looked healthy this offseason, and now he wants a new contract, and they're going back with that. And I don't know if Michael Pittman Jr. is a number 1 wide receiver or not, which could be good or bad depending on Josh Downs, who he ends up being as an NFL pro. So my favorite flaw is like 5 ifs aren't going to come together and all work out. You know what I mean? So I expect us not to be. I don't expect us to be very good this year. But if I was for me to just say a fatal flaw, I just think there's a lot of pieces that could go one way or another. And if you can't depend on something, then I can't rely on it, and I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, so my favorite fatal flaw is that I just don't know who's covering anybody on this team. Like there's the secondary is just like either too young to have any confidence in, or have just demonstrated to just not be very good defensive backs. So that's my fatal flaw. I also see, like, is Shaq Leonard gonna actually be healthy? Is he ever gonna be healthy again? Can he play anymore?
Now. He's back now. Like he played in the preseason, and he's like back now.
All right, is he back? But like Jeremiah Trotter was back with like no knee left anymore and is not good. Like is he back and is he back as he was, or is he?
I don't have that answer. I can tell you I saw him in the preseason.
He put a uniform on. Got it. Okay. Yeah, and then there's all the Jonathan Taylor stuff. I don't anticipate him being on this team long for much longer. I don't. He'll be on the roster. He'll come to camp just enough to not get fined. And he'll dress for games, but I don't think you might as well just write him off because his feelings are hurt at this point, and it's just not going to work out in a positive way for him in Indianapolis. But about Anthony Richardson, like honestly, the problems that Anthony Richardson has are not they're not the typical running quarterback problems. He actually is ahead of a lot of running quarterbacks at this stage in their careers. Like he's ahead of where Jalen Hurts was as a rookie. He's ahead of where even Lamar Jackson was as a rookie. Because his problems are not like he can't read a defense. He can absolutely read a defense. He can absolutely use his eyes and body movements to like look off safeties to develop holes downfield to throw the ball. He has a rocket for arm, and he's mostly accurate. He has these like, and I apologize, I can't explain why, but he has these moments where like he just like throws the ball in the dirt or throws or sails the ball over somebody's head. He'll have perfect form, he'll have done everything right, and then just like lose it at the last moment. Apparently, coaches think those things are more fixable than say like what Jalen Hurts was coming out of college, because people just didn't think Jalen Hurts could read a defense. They were like, he's like a one read and run kind of guy. Again, Jalen Hurts developed into something that nobody thought he would ever develop into. But as a rookie, and comparing them as rookies, Anthony Richardson is like significantly ahead of Jalen Hurts at this point. I don't think it's a risk to start him as a rookie game one. He apparently has the offense. The offense isn't too complicated for him. I say let him roll. Now the team sucks, so like it's not going to be a great season.
I don't like how you
it's not going to be a great season for your Colts as far as record is concerned. But at the very least they know who they are versus Tennessee, who thinks that they can still contend. They know who they are. They know that they're rebuilding. They're going to take their lumps this year, but they're building towards. I think they'll be by the end of the season. You will have seen enough from Anthony Richardson to say, "All right, we got something here. I don't know exactly what, but we have talent here that can get us success in this regular season and in the playoffs. And if he actually, takes another step forward, can be true contenders in the next 3 or 4, maybe 5 years." So like the future is okay for y'all. Right now, it's not going to be good, but yeah, future.
So like if what you said is right here, and like I can honestly make a comparison to Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, then I feel better about him. Now, if the offensive line, my fear is also that the offensive line still isn't as good as people say it is. So
yeah, still got a tackle issue, that's for sure.
Yeah, so like that's scary because like the thing with Anthony Richardson actually was like his like footwork. It was fundamental stuff which you could fix if he wasn't playing, but if he's playing behind an offensive line that can protect him, he's not on his back, so he can learn. You know what I mean? Why? Like I watched him in the preseason. He definitely threw balls high. You know what I mean? He definitely threw off his back foot when pressure came. You know what I mean? Things like that. And I do think that, all right, that could be coached out. But I mean, I do think you got to play to basically say, okay, I got to stop doing that. But I also would not have been mad because I expect this to be bad. I would not have been mad if he was not playing week one.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been mad at it either. I think people misremember the Patrick Mahomes situation though. It's not like the thing is they had a quarterback who was good, and who like that season that Patrick Mahomes sat out, they went to the playoffs. That was a playoff team. Mm-hmm. It's not a situation where they brought in a Gardner Minshew, a backup quarterback, to be a caretaker for one season while the young pup develops some skills and gets some like practice reps. I think Mahomes would have played his rookie year if Alex Smith wasn't there, or if there wasn't a credible quarterback in front of him. I don't think that was as much of a choice as a lot of people kind of remember it as. And that experiment with Patrick Mahomes. I think he would have played his rookie year if Alex Smith wasn't good. Alex Smith was good. He was a good quarterback. Now he low ceiling, wasn't gonna, you knew from game one they weren't going to get past the second round of the playoffs.
Alex Smith
was a good quarterback. So he
went to the NFC and AFC championship game. I mean, you can't he's clearly more than just like the game manager that I think people try to act like he is. Alex Smith was good, man.
He absolutely was, and therefore deserved to start that season. And Patrick Mahomes deserved to sit on the bench that year. It wasn't a protect Patrick Mahomes situation. Okay. Here though, again, if Richardson was having trouble picking up the plays or calling the plays in the huddle and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, sit him down because he's gonna get himself and other people hurt. Like that's those kind of that's those like Jamarcus Russell type situations. But he's smart. He's not a dumb quarterback. He's smart.
Actually, the one thing I love about him is his demeanor. I love his demeanor and how
he has great demeanor, but like he has actually the intelligence to play quarterback in the NFL. And we can talk about we won't, but we can talk about the history of black quarterbacks in the NFL and how people have thought about them and their intelligence levels. And I think a little bit, I think I'm wary of people of how he gets written about sometimes, given that he's a black quarterback and is so athletically dominant. He's actually a quarterback who wants to throw the ball. He doesn't want to take off and run. He wants to find the open receiver. Right. So let's let him roll. It's going to be tough. You're right about Michael Pittman. I don't know that he's the best number one receiver. I don't know if he is a number one receiver. But he's also a big body receiver, and that might be better for a quarterback like Anthony Richardson at this stage because he might just need a broad set of shoulders to throw the ball to and who can box out the defensive back and get that curl route completed.
Yeah, like Michael Pittman's going down the field as opposed to like last year when it was all like under like 5 yards, all of his routes. Like no,
exactly. He will go down the field, that's for sure. And they have the other guy, I forgot his name, Alex Pierce, I think his name is, who's a deep threat.
Yeah, and Josh Downs. I think
Josh Downs.
I think our future looks a little bit brighter because of Anthony Richardson. I just want to see where he is, All right, cool. So let's move on and let's get to these division winners. So AFC South, who you got?
Jacksonville by like 4 games at least.
Okay. So I also have Jacksonville. I don't have them being like the number 1 seed. I would be shocked that they were like a top 3 seed. I can, you know what I mean? Like if they were like, they could be a 3, maybe 3-4, but they're not a number 2 seed, bro. I'm telling you that roster.
I'm not saying that they're talent wise the second best or the best team in the AFC. I'm saying like the AFC North is going to be a bloodbath. All of those teams in the AFC North have like competent at least offenses and at least competent defenses. So that they're gonna a lot of those teams are gonna cancel each other out. AFC East similar is going to be similar in that way. I don't think the Patriots are going to necessarily be competing, but Jets, Miami, if they stay healthy, and Buffalo, like they might all just go 1-1 against each other. AFC West is it's the Raiders and Denver, and maybe Denver rebounds. I don't know, but like Kansas City doesn't seem to be all that interested in the regular season. Also, so like they might take their foot off the pedal a little bit during the regular season. Jacksonville have all the incentive to keep playing and to try to win as many games as possible, to get as high on the on the playoff rankings, the playoff seedings as possible. That's why I think Jacksonville will be the number 1 seed, and also just because they're playing the AFC South. It's the worst division in the NFL, and then they're playing the NFC South, the second worst division in the NFL. That is rack up wins.
To your point, I mean that's a strong point. I don't think they run through the AFC South like you think. But I think I definitely see what point that you're going with there. I just don't see it being a number 2 seed. I think they're a 3 or 4 seed, but that's here nor there. All right, talk to me about the AFC East. I think this is interesting. This division, I think I wouldn't be shocked at whatever you're going to say. I'm not shocked.
So I'm picking Buffalo, but I'm picking Buffalo and Miami to basically have the same record or be like, Miami be 1 game behind. I think it'll be tight. I don't think the Jets are going to make the playoffs.
Oh, you don't think the Jets are going to make the playoffs?
No.
Interesting after what you said. You said a lot for you to say that they're not even going to make the playoffs.
I think
they might win 13 games or they might win 8 games, and I don't know which one they are. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think they have a real problem at left tackle. And I haven't even seen the episode of Hard Knocks, but apparently this became very clear on the latest episode of Hard Knocks that like their offensive line is, less than great, kind of in shambles, and everybody knows it inside the Jets organization. And there's not like a left tackle who's sort of laying around in free agency, right, that you can just pick up and he be better than what they have now. So that, and I am actually like, I don't know who else Aaron Rodgers throws the ball to other than Garrett Wilson on that team. Like I have never, like, what Alan Lazard is like a every fourth game throw a deep pass to and he'll catch it player. Like he's not a consistent threat as a wide receiver at all, really. And then it's like, I don't even, like, who else is on? It's a bunch, like it's Randall Cobb. Like, what are we talking about here? I don't know. Do they have a tight end that they play? Like, what? I don't even know who their tight end is. So
the wide receiver is McCole Hartman, and then
like McCole Hart. Like, what are we talking about? Like, they have Garrett Wilson, a few deep threats, and that's kind of it. And then, like, if they can get the running backs into the passing game, then that's something that I haven't really thought about. And if they did that, then I applaud them for figuring that out. But I just don't think I think actually their offense is going to sputter, and it's going to be a frustrating year for Aaron Rodgers in New York.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't think anything was going to be a shock because I know all three of these teams are not going to be in the playoffs. You know what I mean? It's just, you just can't like look at something and say 3 teams from one division is going to be in the playoffs. So whatever you said, I was shocked. I mean, I wouldn't have been overly shocked. Now I do agree. I've kind of picked the Bills too, but I'm afraid of my pick because I don't know if I think it's safe or if I really believe it. And I kind of flutter between the two thoughts. Because honestly, if they lost the division, I wouldn't be shocked. If Miami won that division, I would not be shocked. If the Jets won that division, I would not be shocked. But I do think that they are, but I don't know if that's me being safe or if that's really like, all right, that's just the smart decision. Because somebody's got to fall off. Remember, 6 teams every single year. 6 teams that made it last year do not make it the year before.
Yeah, that's on average. It's not like 6 teams every season, but yeah, on average that's what happens.
So like last year, it was actually 7 from the year before.
Yeah, no, look, there's going to be teams that made it last year who are not going to make it this year. I think that's going to. I think that's going to. You're going to see that more in like the AFC North than other divisions. Like I think Kansas City and the Chargers are going to go. I think Jacksonville's going to go. I think Miami and the Jets. I'm sorry, the Buffalo Bills are going to go, and then it's just going to be a bloodbath in the AFC North. Like I have Cincinnati as the winner, but like I don't know, is Burrow going to play Week 1 because of his calf? I don't know.
So I've had a calf strain before. Like it's about 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Depending, like they didn't say it's like a grade 2. If it's just like a grade 1, as long as it's not a grade 3, it's usually about like 6 weeks. And you know what I mean? We've been through like about a month of it, so I think he's gonna miss like a game or 2. But I don't think he's gonna miss like 5 games. I don't.
No, but like, all right, if he misses a game or 2, like, who's the backup? Are they going to win any of those games? Like, I'm not asking you to look it up. I'm saying like the backup is somebody who we don't know. We don't even know who that person is. So like, are they expected to win any of those 2 games if he misses 2 games? I don't think so. And now you're 2 games. Now you're 0-2. and what if Cleveland jumps out to 2-0 and Baltimore is 2-0 or 1-1 and like looking good? Like Pittsburgh, same thing. I got you. Missing 2 games is rough in that division.
I got you. All right, well, I do like that. So you should also tune in next week when I do my rebound of my way too early playoff predictions that I did about like a month ago. But now I'm about to redo it again this next week and everything. So first of all, Jamal, I want to thank you for being on the show, man. I'm very happy that this is probably my favorite moment in Cuz You Don't Know Football history. So I appreciate you coming through. I appreciate the heat. We definitely want to have you back when you got the opportunity.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but and as for now, unfortunately, I gotta do you just like I did everybody else and tell you, cuz you don't know football. Thank you, man. Love you to death, bro.
Love you, man.